Hi, this is Dr. Linda Miles, and today I want to share some from my book, Change Your Story, Change Your Brain, that has many exercises for mindfulness. And the more often you do them, the more they're part of your day, the more effective they become. But I want to start with a quote from Christopher Germer of Harvard, who writes about mindfulness and self-compassion. And what Germer says is, when bad things happen, we tend to have three unfortunate reactions: self-criticism, self-isolation, and self-absorption. Why is that? Because we drop into the more primitive parts of our brain where we perceive threat. And those were the first parts of our brain to evolve. And it's very much like a snake or a shark. And therefore, you want to do one of three things: to fight, to freeze, or to flee. And we are far more intelligent and capable than a snake or than those three responses. This part of our brain is our frontal cortex. This is what makes us human. This is what sets us apart from lower forms of life. This part of our brain is a field general. So when you're in a difficult situation, when you're challenged, when you can't get perspective, when you feel like you're locked in a basement and you can only fight, freeze, or flee, then you need to take time out and find ways to calm down. Now, some of the ways you can do that are breathing deeply down to your diaphragm, and exhaling. One of the signs that you're in your old brain is shallow breathing. You're like, and you're in your old brain many times when you're doing this because you're anxious and you're threatened. Now, you wouldn't think that our family, that the people we love and live with, could be threats. Why are they threats? Why would they be threats? And not necessarily a stranger. And many times, your partner or your family is more of a threat than a stranger. So why is that? The reason is we evolved in groups. And it wasn't so long ago that if you lost your group, you lost your life. And that's stored in our old brain. The feeling that these are the people we rely on, and if they leave, we're dead meat. So by calming yourself down, breathing, walking, you can listen to an app that, like Calm, that starts to calm you down. The more you practice, the more you actually shrink the volume here and increase up here. You take time out before you strike or freeze or try to get away. So I want to share with you a tried and true mindfulness practice that helps you when you feel like the snake brain is taking over. And it's called RAIN. So the R stands for recognize. What do you recognize? You recognize when you're tense. You recognize when you feel cornered. You recognize this fear or rage, extremely strong emotions. And the emotions are much stronger than this situation. And when you get above it, you go, wait a minute, why was I so upset about that? And those are darn good questions. Because when we do this, when we tune into our body and feel the tension, we realize that many times it's historical. So for example, there's a dance that I see couples do a lot, and it's called fuser distancer. And it's a way that they're a threat to each other. So, for example, say a guy comes home and he's quiet. And listen, a lot of boys who played sports were taught to be quiet when they're upset. Why? Because if you weren't quiet, you were made fun of. You know, the coaches, if you expressed emotion on the court, they pulled you. The other players called you lovely little names like crybaby. So many men have learned to cope with hardship by shutting down and being quiet. Well, women, we use 3 times as many words as men. We just want to keep talking until we're heard, even if it's a threat. So perhaps the guy feels like, why won't you leave me alone? What is this? And what am I doing? And the woman may be saying things like to herself, telling herself a story, well, if he really loved me, he would be listening to me right now. So that's recognition. Recognition within yourself of the tension, and recognition of destructive patterns that you're playing out. Second is acceptance. Now, by acceptance, I don't mean you necessarily keep doing it or that you just accept if someone's stomping on you. No. Acceptance is about what is real. Not, gosh, how come he can't turn into somebody different? Or, why can't she get out of my face? No, that's not what it's about. What it's about is being able to stop and look at yourself and accept what's going on. In doing that, you're better able to change it. You start to step back from the stories and you go to the next part, which is investigate. And what does it mean to investigate? It means curiosity. You ask questions like, how long have I been doing this? Or does this work? I remember my husband and I just going at it with each other, right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong. That was our favorite dance we did. And one day, I forget which one of us it was, said, are you having fun? Are you enjoying this? No, we were both threatened by each other. We were both in our old brain and nobody was listening. So I don't care if we had the greatest arguments in the world. It didn't matter. So the questions, the investigation, the curiosity starts taking you out of it. So therefore, let's go back to the scenario. The guy comes home. He's stressed. Doesn't want to talk about it. So the woman can ask questions. Are you okay? What's going on? How was your day? In a kind way, in a way that invites him to talk. And if not then, maybe later you can talk about the pattern that you get into, the dance, the fuser distancer dance. I've been a psychotherapist for over 3 decades, and I have seen this dance so many times. So if you do it, do not feel that it's strange. It is not unusual, and many, many couples go down that road. So you're going to recognize, you're going to accept, you're going to investigate, and the last thing you're going to do is you're going to non-judgmentally look at what your story is. If your story is, I'm not lovable, or I'm not enough, then you want to work on that story. And it's only by shining a light on it and becoming aware of it that you can begin to do the work on it. So remember rain next time. And remember to practice breathing. And being in nature can be incredibly healing, very important to do. But find your ways that you learn to calm yourself down so that you don't do destructive dances in your relationships. Thank you.